Could be at 6 o'clock now. Did he
Call
break?
the September 3rd council meeting order. All right, if you'll all sign in, please.
Four members present.
All right, are there any changes to the agenda or corrections?
No changes, Your Honor.
All right, do I have a motion to approve the agenda as printed?
So moved. Second.
Please vote.
Four yes.
All right, this is the time for the citizens forum. If there's anyone in the audience, please come forward and give your name. You'll have 5 minutes to talk, and then we'll go to anyone online. Please come to the podium. Yep, give us your name and address, please.
Molly Karstens, 3921 Woodland Avenue, Unit 3 in West Des Moines. I live
Okay.
at Washington Manor, owned by Elevate Living. I also brought pictures today to show everybody the conditions I'm currently living in. This was our trash. Back in February, I had to get a hold of City Council to come deal with this. The city had to come out and figure out how to get our trash picked up. This is our mailbox back then too. Your code enforcer actually came out and scooped our snow so we could get our mail. They were holding our mail. This is my current living situation. This is my kids' bathroom. Elevate Living has done nothing for us. You cannot get a hold of anybody at their office. Saturday night, we witnessed a dog bite by this dog by one of the tenants. And Elevate Living, nobody could get a hold of them, nor could the police department. This is a picture under my sink. This has been submitted multiple times to Elevate Living. We have mold growing everywhere, and we have a pipe that has air coming out of it that nobody can figure out what it is. Yet this passed our code inspection that just happened. This is my hallway closet full of mold, and my children's winter coats that we are packing because we're moving this week were also coated in mold. And then this is the snow. I have a daughter that's handicapped. It took us 2 weeks to get them to remove this snow. If I needed to call an ambulance, I couldn't have had anyone out there. I also had DHS report this also to the city multiple times, and it took the city coming out multiple times to get someone to move our snow. I want this problem to be addressed. The code enforcement has been great. You guys have been great, but there has to be something that can be done for us as tenants. Like, this is ridiculous. As of this morning, there also is a class act against Elevate and their property management because of the way we are living in these conditions.
Okay, Mr. Carstens, you'd said that there was you said code inspection. I'm guessing it was a rental inspection that was done this
Yeah,
past
and
week.
multiple codes. I got the code violation sheet from the clerk here, and there's multiple code violations. I also had to notify them that all of our fire extinguishers were outdated, more than 10 years old in almost every unit.
So the fire extinguishers is going to fall under the fire department.
Or not fire extinguishers, the fire detectors.
Fire
sorry.
detectors.
Yeah. And that's
So-
under the codes in your guys' rental inspections.
Okay. Craig, you were shaking your head. So if you'd please come forward. So On an apartment complex, that's not treated for as what the fire department would inspect for fire extinguishers?
Hi, good.
Craig Lewis, I'm the fire chief. In an apartment complex, fire department inspects the common areas we do not go into residential areas. So
Okay. Who would do that?
It's the
assume building
city.
inspection would, rental inspector probably does spot checks. We can ask to do spot checks. I'll look
Okay.
into it.
Lynn, would you come forward? How often are rental inspections done?
Lynn Tweet, Director of Development Services, every 2 years.
And what do they look for?
It's more life safety. It is batteries and smoke detectors. It's GFIs. I don't have the list with me. We can certainly get that.
But would these mold issues be one of them that's, I
If
mean,
they
I'm
are-
guessing if it's visible, they're gonna
Yeah.
note it.
If they're evident, there would be things that they could potentially do, but mold in that is not necessarily something that we're looking for. But if it's highly evident, they will raise a concern with it.
Okay.
Yeah, Lynn, I
Questions?
guess, oh, go ahead.
Have you filed a formal complaint with the city in
I-
regards to Elevate's lack of?
I haven't. I just actually got an email on how to do that from you guys.
Okay.
I plan to do that here in the next probably few days.
Because that's what, yes.
But we don't, our problem is we don't have an email. We were told to attach Elevate Living to the email. We don't have an Elevate email to attach.
Have you filed a formal complaint with Elevate as well?
We can't. We have no way to communicate. Our communication is a phone number that when you go to leave a voicemail, it plays music.
They don't have a website, they don't have
Nope.
any kind of business enterprise address of some sort, 'cause someone's writing checks to somebody, right?
We have to do it in a portal. It's all done by a portal, or WIPS it's called.
Lynn, how would the city get a hold of Elevate if there's known issues?
When I had a problem with our toilet, I had to get the city involved, and it took the city over 6 hours to get a hold of Elevate Living for someone to come out.
So we have record of somebody
Yeah.
then with
Yeah.
Elevate.
As part of their rental inspections, there is a manager that we would be in contact with. I will say Elevate right now, we are working with them on several other units. This is not a unit that was identified, but there are several other units that we just put under rent abatement because of a lack of responsiveness that is coming from their management.
So rent abatement, that means that the tenant doesn't have to pay rent while this is going on?
Not on the days it's not like for the whole month. It's prorated based on the days until they get the corrections done that we're looking for. So again, we can have the inspectors go back out to this unit, see if it qualifies, but they have been working with them. This is one of those complexes that we are struggling to get responsiveness to.
Okay,
Rent
but if they-
abatement normally gets them a wake-up call.
But what other teeth do we have to make them do something, I guess, short of withdrawing their occupancy permit, right?
Yeah, we can go that far as to do that. Like I said, rent abatement normally is the trigger that they will finally start doing what we're asking them to do.
Okay.
So they are given that opportunity. They're given their failures on their inspections. They're given an opportunity of about roughly 30 days to get it in line. If they're not getting any kind of response, then we take those next steps.
But if they've got smoke alarms that aren't working, 30 days is a long time. Maybe that's what the law says, but there's got to be a way that,
Yeah,
To-
we can look into it, we can find out what exactly they're doing, if there's certain things that you want to push forward. Every time we go out there, understand that that's taking them away from another one to go do, but we can certainly look into what we're doing for rental inspections. What is that timing? How quickly do we go back for re-inspects on certain items? That can all be looked at and try to find the right balance for that.
okay. Is there any other apartment complexes that this company owns in West Des Moines?
Yeah, 3 of them. There's 4. There's Robin Hills, Washington Manor, Colonial Village, and Woodland Place. And Woodland Place complained to you guys last city council lady came in here and complained. And then about Elevate, and then Colonial also has multiple code violations.
Okay. Well, I'm going to ask that we dig into this, even at the legal end of it, and see what we can do for these residents, because that's poor living conditions. And
I
if
couldn't
there's-
agree more.
If there's safety issues like smoke alarms or fire extinguishers that aren't up to date, that's a major issue, especially in an apartment complex. So, all
We
right,
have in my experience, we've withheld a occupancy permit on a new construction with what seemed to me like less significant health issues than what I've seen here. So if we're going to do that for new construction, that in my mind would be a heck of a lot safer, at least from a health perspective, from what I've seen here, we ought to be, particularly, I know it's hard to do this on a regular basis, to inspect every unit across the city on it. You can't do it every month. I totally get that. But when we already have additional complaints in this particular area, or in this particular, with Elevate Living already on record, it sounds like you're already going through rent abatement there. Now we've got these photos. Seems to me like there's a lot more we could probably do, and I'd be supportive of looking into it and seeing what we can get done.
Just
like
understand,
to
if we pull an occupancy permit, all of a sudden, we're displacing those people entirely. So there's going to be other avenues we're going to research and try to do.
that's exactly what I'm saying. I think we need to go the legal end of it, and if, last resort would be pulling their occupancy permit. But again, there's got to be something that we can do, because this is two apartments complexes that we know of that Elevate has issues with. So
Yes.
common sense would tell you that the others are just as bad.
We just need to be very clear on what those things are that we're willing to get involved in, because anytime somebody doesn't
It's a
want to pay
domino
rent,
effect.
they make up, not to say this is.
I promise I'm not
You've
making
got
any of
photos
this
to
up.
prove
No,
it,
she's
but
Right.
We end up in the middle of that if somebody they're in a dispute with their management and we get drug in and there's really not a dispute from our standpoint. So we're just going to have to be clear about
Right.
what exactly are those thresholds that we're willing to do.
My other question is, while you're here, and maybe you can address it, we have fireplaces in our units that are real fireplaces.
That have probably not been checked.
Elevate Living I asked them when I moved in the last time they'd been cleaned, and nobody could give me a date. We have never used ours. However, multiple other people use them. They have never been checked. I've lived there a year. We've had nobody out to check our,
Is that something that rental inspection would ask for, is when's the last time the chimneys were
It's
been
not in-
inspected and swept?
it's not in the thing.
Yeah, that's not a very common one, so we'd want to look into that one and see what exactly the requirements are for that.
Because Chief Lou obviously is familiar with what a chimney fire will do at a house, let alone an apartment complex. So I think that's something we definitely need to dive into for any apartment complex, not just anything Elevate owns, but I would hope that that's something we can get onto the rental. Because I would think every 2 years is probably fine to sweep a chimney, isn't it? Typically? Once a year ideally, but at least one, every two. So,
It's hard, when you start moving into commercial properties, and then they mix that with residential, the codes get a little fuzzy, but I think me and Lynn could work on this, we can make this work.
okay, thank you.
Well, I'd like to just say, first of all, I really appreciate you being here.
Yes.
It takes a lot to come here and show the kind of pictures that you've shown and keep the calmness that you have displayed
Yeah, well-
amidst immense frustration. So I applaud you for that. I applaud you for taking the time to say, I'm desperate, I'm here for help. You're living in conditions with your disabled child, as you've said, that are intolerable. So it looks as though.
I actually can't
we-
even get my foster I am trying to get a foster license.
Yeah.
And I can't get my foster
Okay,
license
okay.
because of this.
Okay, you are moving though, did I hear you say that, but you're concerned? So.
We're moving this week on Thursday.
Yeah, so I think there will be some things that they'll look at with regard to Elevate and its responsibility as a person that's renting property. But I'm really sorry that you are in the predicament that you're in, and you've taken the courage to say, I'm going to take another step here and show the council what I've been living in. So although it won't help you, hopefully it'll help
I
others
hope
that
it
live
helps
there.
others that live there because
Yeah.
there's a lot to live there.
Yeah,
So
So thank you.
Yes,
Thanks
thank
for
you.
coming forward. All right.
Hey, Lynn, really quick, one last question for you. So I agree with Councilman Trevilian, Councilwoman Hardman, Councilman McKenney about all the things that they're talking about, and thank you for sharing your story, Ms. Carstens. We appreciate that. One thing that kind of struck me in this conversation was the communication piece. So when we have a resident who wants to reach out to their landlord, to their property manager, whoever, it feels like we need a protocol in place, or at least a mechanism where our residents can reach out to the person who owns the property that they're currently renting. And as you said, for example, the city has an email address or a phone number for the property manager. Is that what I hear?
We try to have them for all of the complexes, yes.
I'm wondering if we can do some things to shore that up. And therefore, if any resident wants to reach out to their landlord, they can't get a hold, they've tried, they've emailed, they're called, nothing, they could reach out to the city, and then the city can say, well, by code, we are required to have 1, 2 contacts, and it doesn't seem like that would be an enormous lift for really anyone to have not 1, but 2 points of contact with whoever the landlord is, whether it be a single owner, whether it be a corporate owner, whether it be a management company, whoever it may be. How difficult would that be? Because what concerns me about this, in addition to all that was mentioned, was the lack of communications. So what does that look like?
Yeah, and unfortunately, if a complex sells between the time with the 2 years that we're doing it, we normally don't get that update until we're ready to go out and get those inspections, because we have to have them let us into those buildings. But we can have a point where it sells and we don't even know that it's sold. We don't know that they have a different management company. There's a lot of times where we don't have that information up until when we're ready to try to get out there and do those inspections. So we can look to try to do something. I think we had something on the books for basically vacant properties. Maybe it's the same type of approach that requires them to keep it an up-to-date contact with the city. We'd have to look at it, but again, it's an enforcement matter. As you know, we've had a lot of discussions lately on enforcement.
Yep.
So that's another one that it's, who's going to babysit it and make sure that it's staying.
Hopefully this wouldn't be too difficult to add this to a database of some sort. And then if a resident has a problem, they reach out to the city, well, here's the phone number we have. And then if a resident calls that number, it wasn't a number that worked. And then that's the moment where, yeah, it's tough to enforce that. But it feels like as a city, we really need to have the communication piece really shored up. So that's what I'm thinking about. So if we can look at that as well, that would be great. Thank you very much.
Thank you. Anyone else, Citizens Forum?
Good evening, each and every one of you.
Good evening.
Vicki Longhill, 136 10th Street, West Des Moines resident. I did come in on the end of this, but this issue and problems, is not only West Des Moines. And I believe, I just briefly want to say, I believe the state, if not the city of Des Moines, does have a policy that they have put in place. I think it has to do with sending a letter to make corrections if they don't after a number of days, maybe 10 or 14 days. Then action can be taken up to a non-payment of rent. I don't know if that's still in place, but I believe that is a policy that the other cities have used to address these kind of problems.
Thank you. We'll look into that. Appreciate it. Anyone else in the chamber for Citizens Forum? Seeing none, we'll go online. Is there anyone online that wants to speak at Citizens Forum? Hit #6 to unmute yourself. Hearing none, we'll move on to item 3, Mayor, Council, City Manager reports. We'll start with Council. No report from City Manager?
No report?
Nothing at this time, Your Honor.
All right. Councilwoman Hardman?
Okay, thank you, Your Honor. I'd like to lift up and congratulate the Taste of the Junction for another very successful weekend. I attended the event on Thursday night, which is at the ballroom there, and it was so many people there, rich heritage. They lifted up a lot of families. So this is happening in West Des Moines in the Junction, and it's a phenomenal way to bring people to the Junction. Hopefully they shopped and did some other things there while they were at the festival. But again, I just would like to congratulate the Long family, particularly Rachel Long as well, and her team and her board for executing upon another successful event where they lift up culture and cuisine and family and heritage. Well, job well done. Then I'd like to acknowledge congratulations to the Chamber. Some of us had an opportunity to attend the Habitat Home. Councilman McKinney, I saw you there, the mayor there, where there was a ribbon cutting for a home on 8th Street, at the corner there on 8th Street in the Junction, which was built by volunteers for the Chamber's 100th celebration. They chose a house to rehab. Phenomenal house. It's absolutely beautiful to see that home right there having been restored by Habitat and lots of volunteers in celebration of the Chamber's 100th anniversary. That's another good thing that's going on in the city, and I'd like to congratulate the Chamber and all volunteers that participated in that. And then finally, I'd just like to thank the Finance Committee. We got these big, thick binders recently. Someone can hold one up and you see it there. And so that's a lot of work that goes into that. Lots of documentation, extremely well done. So I want to thank the finance team for all the hard work in these beautiful binders with tons of information that's available to the public and to us that shares everything you want to know about finances that are going on in West Des Moines. So thank you so much, Tim.
All right, moving on to consent agenda. I want to pull 4L. Is there anyone else that wants to pull any items from the consent agenda? All right, do I have a motion?
For the remainder.
Second.
All right, all in favor, please vote.
Four yes.
All right, 4L is the approval of awards for the Property Improvement Fund and Regulatory Compliance Fund programs. I'm going to move this with one amendment. And that amendment is that there's a remaining balance of $24,000 that was not expended out of this. And I would like to add that to the award to Gilroy's for the money that they received. And I'd like that $24,000 to be in the form of a grant.
Okay.
Gilroy's has had some conversations with some city staff, I'm not going to get into it, a few years ago. And at that point was basically told that, hey, hold off on these projects. We're going to get this program moving down on the 8th Street corridor, and we'll be able to get you that funding. And it did not materialize. They did not do those projects on the word of the city staff person. And it didn't materialize the way that it was told to them that it would. And I think that given the fact that that took place, and also the issues that took place over the last couple of years with all the construction going on down there, with 8th Street being fully under construction, I just think it's the right thing to do to award these other $24,000 to Gilroy's.
Mr. Mayor Pro Tem, sorry, Councilwoman. Okay, Mr. Mayor Pro Tem, thank you for sharing that. And I think the struggles that we've seen on that 8th Street are absolutely real. I would be absolutely willing to explore this further, just not immediately tonight on the dais. This came before the Finance Administration Subcommittee a couple weeks ago. I wanted to thank the team for going through all of these applications and providing what I think is a real benefit for not just Historic Valley Junction, but also the 8th Street corridor. We have a couple of businesses right in 8th Street that are being awarded some money to help improve those areas. And I'm grateful that those businesses are there, just like I'm grateful that Historic Valley Junction businesses have applied for this money as well. At this exact moment, I'm not supportive of doing it tonight, but I'm very supportive of exploring it further because we do have that money remaining, but I would love to get a holistic report on what that would look like and how that would look like as a part of this application process. But I want to do it more, dare I say, deliberately. So I appreciate what you're saying, Mr. Mayor Pro Tem, but right now I'm comfortable with keeping it as is with a further explanation, I can't say exploration, excuse me. So that's where I'm at, but I wanted to share why.
Okay.
Well, are you speaking, Mr.?
I know we have a motion out there. If we don't have a motion or a second on this, I would entertain moving 4L, but you feel free to.
Moving for what?
I don't know if there's a second.
We need to wait and see if there is a second.
Oh, okay.
All right, motion dies for lack of a second. I'm going to then further amend this to say that, based on what Councilman Hudson said, that we award the money as recommended, but that we further explore this $24,000 towards Gilroy's.
I have a question. First of all, I'm all for, utilizing funds and where they are appropriate. I just want to understand the process. Is that, do others that have been inconvenienced around that strip, because there's other restaurants too that I know have had to move and go to West Glen a little bit. I can't think of the name of the restaurant, but it's a Mexican restaurant. It's so good. Yeah, okay, El Fagon. Okay, thank you. So I just want to make sure that I understand that, since we have that extra pot of money, do we let it be known that others that are similarly situated have access to apply for this additional money? I just want to make sure that the process is, extremely transparent, and I know we're talking about it on the public airways here, but there's probably some other businesses, Neil Gilroy, that I understand have had some inconveniences as well with regard to the construction, and I just want to ensure that they have an opportunity to speak.
Yeah, good evening, Mayor Pro Tem, members of council. Ryan Moffett, Community and Economic Development Director. So we did have an open application period. We tried to advertise this as much as we could. We put this on social media. We personally notified some of the property owners that had expressed a known interest in improvements. That does include El Fogon. Unfortunately, Blanca opted to not make an application this round. I think what we've got basically, we've got the recommendations of the due diligence committee. They're just that, though. Council does have the wherewithal to reprogram the unallocated funds how they see fit. Right now, the plan of attack, based on the recommendation, is that funding just gets returned to the general fund. But if there is a sentiment to want to put this to good use, we really didn't have any other applicants that weren't awarded. There were some that were not fully awarded based on how the scoring criteria went. But we've got options. We could look at direct award to Gilroy's. We can look at prorating shares to other businesses that maybe didn't get the full funding allocation that they requested. As you'll see in your packet, we got tremendous demand for the program. We had 12 applicants this year, which tied an all-time record after 8 rounds of this program. So it demonstrates there's clearly a need out there still. And basically for the funding that was allocated for the program, even in working with finance to recoup some of the funds that had been repaid back on previous rounds that had loan repayments, we still couldn't get to an amount that would fully fund all the applications. So sometimes there were tough decisions that the due diligence committee had to make here.
So did Gilroy's even apply for this round?
They did, yes.
Okay, and where, what are they,
It's under the 8th Street.
So yeah, there's 2 separate
There's 2
pots
of
of
them there.
money.
okay.
Both really come from the same source, but we broke this out based on the $400,000 that was allocated
Okay,
for
I
historic
see,
West Des
I
Moines.
see.
And then we're able to get $130,000 for 8th Street.
Yeah,
And our total request
see.
for awards was $300,000 between both programs on
Yeah.
8th Street.
I see it.
So listen, I know the folks with Gilroy's have been through a very difficult time during the 8th Street reconstruction. And I sympathize with the frustration that the project had on their business, both financially, but also just, I'm sure, with morale, right? What it means for employees, what it means for business. And I think it was a lot longer than everybody anticipated, despite best efforts to try to move things along. So I am very sympathetic to helping this group for a lot of reasons. I think having previously served on the due diligence committee before I was on the council, I'm generally speaking familiar with the process that was undertaking. So when applications come in, they're evaluated, they're scored, and there's a conversation amongst the members of the due diligence committee to determine how, within the confines of the program, they should best allocate the funding. And as much as I would like to allocate, as Councilman Trevilian has identified tonight, as much as I'd like to allocate the balance, the unspent funds directly to Gilroy's, I find it difficult to say, well, why shouldn't we also give it to, I'm just going to pick one, Memory Lane, right? Or Bix & Co., or any of the others that weren't fully funded, or Black Cat Ice Cream. I think without having gone through all the applications myself, without fully understanding the conversation that occurred at the due diligence committee, I'm not in a position to say, well, we should tonight allocate $23,000 or whatever the balance is towards Gilroy's. I think I'm very much in favor of this council, this body, at the beginning of the year, determined how much we as a body wanted to allocate towards this fund, generally speaking, both Valley Junction and 8th Street, which I understand is all one, but for purposes of this, we kind of segregated it out. I'd be very much in favor of allocating the balance towards another round of funding that could then be scored. Everybody could apply. Gilroy's, if Gilroy's wants to apply and they're the only applicant, well, then that probably works out pretty well for them. If 5 different folks want to apply and the due diligence committee determines that it needs to be broken up or allocated in certain different methods according to our guidelines, then to me that's the more appropriate way to do it, despite my desire to try to help folks that have been in a very difficult spot. So Kevin, on your motion, if you take a friendly amendment to go through the whole evaluation process again, I would absolutely say let's reallocate the funding towards a program and go through an application-based competitive process. And I would absolutely second that.
Ryan, quick question on this, because this fund is constantly increasing because people are paying back loans from 1 year ago, 2 year ago, 3 year ago. Is that correct?
I wouldn't say it's increasing necessarily, but it's kind of like a revolving loan fund essentially.
Yeah.
But again, the proceeds go back to the general fund. So really it's up to finance and the council to direct where that funding goes towards.
So it doesn't go directly, but we have the ability to redirect those into this fund,
Correct.
knowing where they came from to make it into a revolving fund.
And if you look in your packet too, there's 213,000, that's exactly where that funding came from.
Yep. So given that reality, the possibility of doing this in the future is there. And I think I agree with Councilman McKinney that $24,000, $24,229 maybe, if we had it all together, I'm not sure.
And 49 cents.
And 49 cents, excuse me, sorry. Round it down, come on.
I rounded, but that's okay.
In any case, I think that should remain I don't think that should go in the general fund. I think this has a purpose. We want this money to be utilized in this fashion because I think upkeep in our historic parts of the city is really, really important. So I would support keeping that and doing this in the future. Not immediately necessarily, but I think there's a process that can continue.
Yeah, and I
It's
think
worked well in the
just
past.
from a work bandwidth perspective, it would certainly be my intent to make a request, again, a budget request to refund this program. I'm going to make some recommendations that might look a little bit different. I don't want to muddy the waters with that tonight, but I think I've talked to most of you about the intent to maybe want to grow the area that this program would be eligible to. It'd still be the older part of the community, but it could look a little bit different with some of these recommendations in the future. But we probably need to look at this from a staff perspective of making this budget allocation every other year. This is fairly intensive to score, to get the committee together. Each one of these award recipients is going to have a development agreement, and then we've got to monitor the agreement and process invoices as they come in. So it's not something we're really staffed to do on a full-time basis, but every other year I think has worked pretty well, and that seems to be consistent with what we've done with other rounds of funding.
Matt, if you want to restate your friendly amendment, I will.
Yeah, I would move to approve item 4L and to also reallocate the unspent dollars of 24,000, whatever an amount is, towards another round of funding within the 8th Street corridor.
I would second that.
Discussion.
Any more discussion?
Yeah, I am, as I said earlier, that I am in support of us utilizing the $24,000, but I am more in support of it being, everyone knows they have an opportunity to be evaluated against the $24,000, and that it is just not an automatic. And I love Gilroy's, I go there, and I love the food there, so this isn't about that, though. This is about transparency and fairness and making sure that if we have this extra pot of money, that everyone has a chance to apply that is appropriately in the category that we're looking at. So if it comes back and it's all Gilroy's, then it's a process that's been evaluated and scored by staff, but it needs to go through a fair, evaluative, scored process with full transparency on letting people know that additional funds are going to be looked at.
Are you able to take public comment? I don't know if Scott or Carl, if you wanted to address the council tonight too, or?
I'd be happy to hear from them.
Who's that? Who-
I'll be quick.
who's that?
Of course, that's Carrie. Scott Carlson, 1238 8th Street. I own the property of Gilroy's as well as the business of Gilroy's. And I just want to give you the background on some of these funds. When we did the build out, when we originated 7 years ago, we came to the city and said, is there any funds for small business? And they said, there are if you spend $2 million or more. We don't have any funds for anything under $2 million. So I said, that doesn't really help small business if it's at $2 million or more. And then they did say, well, 8th Street has this program. If you're any size, you can get some funds. And so we said, well, can we be part of that 8th Street? And we're on 8th Street. And they said, no, the border, goes to you. And unfortunately, there is nothing we can do for you in the city of West Des Moines. And we moved forward, right? And we built out. And we had some real big issues, getting that build out done in West Des Moines. But we made it through. Then at that time, the city came and said, hey, if some improvements you can get done, we have some funds for you. So we applied for those improvement dollars, and they were also at the time still on 8th Street for the for Valley Junction. So those were kind of denied as well. Then the city kind of shut down. The city said they're going to renovate 8th Street and said, hey, we're going to leave 2 lanes of 4. So your heart will still get blood. It just won't be as much. And then 2 weeks before construction said, we're going to close the entire street. And they're not going to get any blood. There's going to be no way to get to your restaurant except cutting through parking lots. And at that time, they said, hey, what projects do you have going on? And we said, we have to replace a roof. We have to rework on our, we'd like to replace our roof. We have to replace part of our roof. We would like to work on our parking lot. And we have some other things we would like to get done. They said, hey, we have a bag of tricks that we have on 8th Street. When I say 8th Street, Valley Junction 8th Street, that we're going to bring over to you and tweak so we can get you guys some help because we realize how much damage we have done to your business. And so we actually didn't do that work. We replaced 1/3 of our roof because we had to, and we held off, which if you ever do a roof, replacing a roof is very expensive. Doing 1/3 of it costs like 70% of doing a whole roof, right? Because it's getting up there and doing the work. So we kind of held back on all those, waiting for these kind of bag of tricks or ways to help the city. And then we were told just this year, the patio that was approved by the state of Iowa liquor license, we thought we were approved, right? We have to send our schematics, we have to send our liquor license, our borders. We sent it, got approval, got our liquor license, we're good to go. And then very shortly after, the city of West Des Moines said, hey, you have to take that patio down within a week or you're gonna be fined, I think it was $600 a day because it's not a permanent patio. And we said, okay, can we have a little more time to figure this out? And so we met with the city attorney. They were very helpful and some of the city staff. And they said, hey, Scott and Carl, we believe some of the funds that are here to help develop could be used to actually get your patio into code. And they said, hey, we'll give you the summer to make those plans, submit the plans, and see if we can get you some funding to help for that patio. The issue is if this $24,000 gets delayed to next spring or next year or next time you do this, the city has told us if we don't get the patio redone this year, we can't have it anymore. So come in about a month, we're done, right? That patio's got to be broken down, put away, and relatively destroyed, right? And we spent probably 30 or 40 grand to open that patio for COVID, right? So we had more space outside. We just thought since it was approved by the state of Iowa, we could keep it, right? Because once we get the license approved, we're pretty happy. We didn't realize the city of West Des Moines didn't communicate with the state of Iowa. We didn't know that, right? So these $24,000 will put together that patio. Even if you delay it for us, then the patio's gone, right? We can't go back and, it would cost us another 30 grand to get to where we are today. The 24,000 gives us a permanent structure, you know, that was put there. So I just want to let you know, at least, it's okay you delay the funds. The issue is, the city of West Des Moines told us we have to be done, and we have to have the construction started by the end of this year. They gave it, so this year was the gift. This summer was the gift to get our kind of ducks in a row, and part of these funds were for that ducks in a row. So I just want to let you know, at least kind of the history of the city of West Des Moines helping Gilroy's. And so far, it's been a goose egg. And it's okay, but it's just been a lot of talk and just never a lot of development, you know, in that area. So
So you're referring to the additional, you're not referring to the 22,500?
correct.
You're not talking about that, you're talking about
Correct. Well, we didn't get
24,000.
awarded the stuff for the patio.
Yeah,
And
so, yeah.
and so this would.
Just want to
this
make
would-
sure that's
right,
clear, because
right,
those
sorry.
numbers are close, and I just
Sorry,
want to make
yeah,
sure
yeah.
everybody's
Yeah,
aware of
sorry.
what we're talking about.
So I didn't want to be too long and get too detailed, but I just wanted to kind of explain to you kind of the process of Gilroy's in the city of West Des Moines Development Office, you know, and that kind of stuff. And everybody's, I think, been very professional, just nothing's ever come to fruition. So, thank you for your time.
So who gave you the end of the year extension? What
So,
department?
We got Mr. McKinney was helpful. We got a letter a form letter from the city of Des Moines just saying you have to be done by the end of the week, or you're going to get fined, I think, $620 a day because you're outside of your, the patio was just a temporary thing for COVID. We didn't know this, by the way. We never were
Okay,
told
right.
that. And so we kind of said, oh, wait.
But
you
what
know?
department did that letter come from?
Legal.
The legal department.
And that might have been when Dick was here. I don't.
Who helped us? It was a-
I think
Sorry.
Yeah, come forward, come up to the,
Sorry.
yeah.
I think to put some context to it.
Name,
Fair enough. Carl Wertzberger, I'm the managing partner of Gilroy's located at 1238 Eighth Street. Speaking specifically about the attorney aspect, I believe maybe I'm wrong, but I think you maybe knew there's attorney at the time for the city of West Des Moines was either income and new or just about to go outbound. So I don't know who that person
Probably
was right now.
Dick.
So I'll look at my notes, but hopefully you guys can help me out. I don't recall knowing you right now, so I'm
No.
guessing that person was different than you.
I think
and I
she actually got promoted, I think, to
Yes.
another
Yeah.
position,
Well,
or moved to another position within the city.
it may have been Jessica working with him then.
And I can look at my notes, but.
Lynn might be able to answer that.
Sorry. I apologize.
So Lynn Tweed, Director of Development Services. The temporary patios as part of COVID were fine, but after kind of COVID was declared over, if you wanted to keep that patio, you needed to go through a minor mod process to actually put in a legal patio that met code. So during COVID, everything was pretty lax. What we have are some rules for those patios to have 42-inch barriers, to have different elements to them from a safety standpoint, from a controlling where that consumption is. So in a combination between Planning Division, we sent out a letter saying, hey, we need to get this patio approved, officially approved. Things didn't happen. We kept sending a letter. We kept asking, hey, we need the minor mod to get the patio approved. It finally gets to the point where we say, okay, legal, we're not getting the response we need. Will you help us out? And that's when we start sending the municipal infraction letters, which, like abatement, all of a sudden gets attention. So, yes, we've been working with them to try to get this patio up to speed as to what it can be and can't be. Part of the problem with their patio is where they place their boulders encroached into a drive aisle, which then starts affecting other code provisions. So we had been working with them to try to get this patio where it needs to be.
Lynn, you said that it was allowed during COVID,
Yep, a lot
okay?
of,
And then when COVID was over, what year was COVID over?
you tell me, exactly. So
Right, I
so,
think it's been more than
right,
this year.
yes.
And so when did we first notify them that it's illegal?
I would have to go back to the records.
Because to me-
I know Linda had been working with them for quite some time to try to get this patio where it
But
needed
again,
to
if
be.
they were going off of the word of a former city staff person that, let me get my bag of tricks and we'll get you the money, is probably why they kept kicking the can down the road, thinking that.
Very well could be.
And so,
Not
I don't
entirely.
know what another, I don't know,
Yeah, whether or not.
season is
if you
gonna
wanna
hurt
ex-
anything,
If you
but-
want to extend it, that is possible. Again, what I'm telling you is that municipal infraction was the trigger to finally get the conversations going. Typically, once we have those conversations going, we are okay with letting that date kind of slide. But it was really to get that responsiveness to come in, start talking to us, and start working through what we can and can't do. I will say, again, I'm hearing it from secondhand. I think we're kind of a little bit of an impasse on where these stones are at and what the drive aisle and what changes need to happen. We can start those conversations again. I don't know that we're dead set on shutting them down by the end of the year or anything to that effect, but if we don't have deadlines, if we don't unfortunately have threats, we get nowhere. So more than happy to continue to work with them, and if you want to keep the patio open while you continue to work through the other half of it, that is just fine. We just need those communications to us to know that's the path we're going to go.
Okay, so a friendly amendment, Mr. McKinney, to your friendly amendment, that this money get run through the process again for 8th Street, but their patio stays open or allowed until we get worked through all of this. Because if this patio has to go away by the end of the year and for what, and I don't know, I mean, do you guys leave it out during the winter time or? Okay. We do. So if it has to be gone by the end of the year, I'm guessing they're going to take it down before the snow flies. If it's got to go down, what? So I would like to allow that patio to stay until we figure out where this $24,000 is going.
Would this resolution be the mechanism for what you're describing, or should that be a separate thing? Ryan, can you share a little bit, or Greta?
Yeah, but I'm not so certain that you can provide that exemption through council action. I would ask that we defer that at this point.
Okay, let's talk about this.
Certainly.
I'll talk to you tomorrow. Thank you.
Thank you.
We'll get to work through it.
Thank you for being here.
Yeah, our pleasure. Thank you.
All right, so we got a motion and second. Any more discussion?
So the motion is to approve L with the understanding that the remaining $24,449.49 is going to remain in this fund, Mr. McKinney, for
8th Street.
8th Street specifically, for the 8th Street area. Is that what you said?
I think technically, I defer to Ryan, these funds were allocated across the regulatory compliance fund and the property improvement. So I don't know what remains in which fund, but we ought to.
And I'll let Tim chime in if I'm incorrect in this. I don't know if it really matters. I mean, really,
That's my
it's all
point.
general fund dollars.
Yeah.
And again, if we make tweaks based on what I think my recommendation is going to be, it's to create one area. There wouldn't be a historic Valley Junction area. There wouldn't be an 8th Street. It'd be one larger area, grow the boundaries of it. Anyone can apply and receive that pot of funding.
That would be my motion, yeah.
And second to that motion?
Yes.
Okay.
All right. And I presume we can get this done within not too long a time?
Well, I mean, if council, budget season's upcoming, so.
No, I'm talking about this 24,000, to put it back out there.
Oh, okay. If that's council's directive, we can certainly do that, yes.
Okay. All right. All in favor, please vote.
Four yes.
Ryan?
All right, thank you.
Thank you.
So Ryan, let's get that ball rolling and see what we can do to make this happen. Thank you. All right. Old business. 5A, amendment to city code, Title 4, Health and Safety Regulations, Chapter 8B, Stormwater Management Charges, Modification of Rates. City initiated, there's a motion for approval of the ordinance, second reading, third and final adoption.
Move consideration
Second.
of the second reading.
Second.
Moved and seconded. Any discussion? All right, please vote.
Four yes.
Move
Ordinance,
Oh, I'm sorry.
an ordinance amending the city code of the city of West Des Moines, Iowa by amending Title 4, Chapter 8B pertaining to stormwater management charges.
Move approval of the second reading.
Second.
No, please vote. There we go. Now vote.
4 yes.
5B, Amendment to City Code, Title 7, Public Ways and Property.
Of the waiver of third reading.
I'm sorry.
Yep, I'm sorry. Move to waive the third reading and adopt in final form.
Second.
Please vote.
4 yes.
Now, 5B. Amendment to City Code, Title 7, Public Ways and Property, Chapter 8C, Sanitary Sewer System User Charges, Modification of Rates, City initiated. There's a motion for approval of this ordinance for second reading, third reading, and final adoption.
Move consideration of second reading.
Second.
Any discussion? Please vote.
Four yes. An ordinance amending the city code of the city of West Des Moines, Iowa by amending Title 7, Public Ways, Chapter 8C, pertaining to sanitary sewer service charges.
Move approval of second reading.
Second.
Please vote.
Four yes.
Move the adoption, waive third reading and adoption in final form.
Second.
Please vote.
Four yes.
All right. 6A, this is the time and place for a public hearing to consider amendment to City Code Title 9 zoning, Chapter 3, general provisions, and Chapter 14, accessory structures, modify regulations pertaining to non-conforming fences initiated by the city of West Des Moines. Clerk, would you please read the date the notice was published?
August 16, 2024, in the Des Moines Register.
Have we received any written comments to this hearing?
The Planning and Zoning Commission, by a vote of 6 yes with 1 no, adopted a resolution recommending approval of the ordinance amendment.
Are there any members of the audience that would like to address item 6A? Please come to the podium and give us your name and address. Seeing none, is there anyone online that would like to address the council? Hearing none, I'm going to declare the public hearing closed. There's a motion for approval of first reading to the ordinance. Do I have a motion?
I move consideration of the first reading.
Second. Second.
Moved and seconded. Is there any discussion?
I do have a question, and I know that unfortunately I wasn't present when this was discussed during the portion of the workshop. One of the things that stood out to me, and perhaps maybe I'm missing it as I review this, is that you get a one-time opportunity to reconstruct. What I was recalling was perhaps a provision that also would indicate that there would be something recorded and attached to the property so that when the fence blows down today, I move out 12 years from now and I had done the one-time reconstruction and somebody buys my house 12 years from now, that there's something recorded that shows that that you don't get another shot. Because when that fence blows down 12 years from now and there's another, or 14 years from now and there's another owner there, they're going to say, well, I'm the first owner. Can I reconstruct it? So they may not have notice of it. They may not be aware of it. And similar to how an HOA covenant is, recorded and attached to the property, when somebody buys it, you can get a copy of it. You're alerted to it. I don't know. I'm not a property law attorney, but I don't know if there's something that can be recorded that somebody would not be able to come in to us and say, I never knew. How come I can't reconstruct the fence? So was that discussed when I was,
It was discussed.
Okay. And I didn't see that in here, and maybe I missed it. Okay. Is that something Greta, is that something that it was discussed? Could we add it to this somehow?
We can, and we could do that on the second reading, or we could defer this, however you'd prefer.
I'm fine doing it on the second reading. I just want to make sure that if we can do that, meaning legally, there's a process with the recorder's office where you can file something and it attaches, and so somebody in the future has noticed that, hey, no more reconstructing because you've already exercised your get out of jail free card, that's a process that can unfold.
You would want that as a bullet point in this ordinance
Yeah,
specifically that says something to that extent?
I would. I don't know where my colleagues.
Yeah, I think that would be fine.
So that involves the city staff then doing this kind of filing, and they're able to do that?
Yes, we could do that.
Okay.
All right.
I think what Councilman McKinney is describing, though, I think it will be a problem. So I am supportive of this. I do think the exact scenario that you were suggesting is going to come up 10 years from now, 15 years from now. And I don't think it's going to be a huge issue. And certainly future councils can do what they want. We cannot bind future councils. They might choose to let that person in 12 years say, you know what? I don't know what they were doing back in 2024, but you know what? We're going to move that you get another one-time shot and then another one-time shot. So that could happen. But I will apologize ahead of time to the council in 2037 because they might have to deal with this. But it won't be huge, but I'm still cautiously supportive going forward. So.
All right, any other discussion?
So we'll just bring it back.
We'll bring it
for
back on the second reading, and
with
that change
change.
will be added to the second reading.
Great.
Yes.
Thank you.
All right, please vote.
Four yes. An ordinance amending the city code of the city of West Des Moines, Iowa, 2024, Title 9 zoning, Chapter 3 general provisions, and Chapter 14 accessory structures pertaining to non-conforming fences.
Move approval of the first reading.
Second.
Please vote.
Four yes.
All right, 6B, this is a time and place for a public hearing to consider fire administration building exterior maintenance initiated by the city of West Des Moines. Clerk, would you please read the date the notice was published?
August 16, 2024, in the Des Moines Register.
Have we received any written comments to this hearing?
None, Your Honor.
Is there anyone in the audience that would like to address the council on item 6B? Please come forward and give your name and address.
Steve Freebird, Executive Director of the Historic Valley Junction Foundation. Not sure whether or not it's maybe too late in the process, but we'd love to see this work being done. I just want to add that with the future construction of a new parking lot in the 6th and Walnut area being considered, hopefully this area, the concrete that's going to be redone between Coffee Cats and the Fire Administration Building includes things like signage, lighting, planting, something to make that a more attractive pedestrian walkway, because that is going to be kind of the new walkway eventually to that parking area.
All right, thank you. Any other comments? All right. Anyone online that wants to, or on the phone that wants to address the council on item 6B? Hearing none, I'm going to declare the public hearing closed. We have a resolution to approve the plans and specs and a motion to receive and file the bids. Can we take them at the same time? All right.
Motion to approve the resolution in motion.
Is there a second? I'll second it then.
Yeah.
All right, all in favor?
Four yes.
All right, 7A, Oaks on Grand Phase 2, 5725 Raccoon River Drive, approval of a major modification to site plan to allow construction of approximately 10,000 square foot office building, JCG Equity LLC. The resolution for approval of a minor modification. Do we have a motion?
Motion to approve the resolution.
Second. Second.
Any discussion? Please vote.
Four yes.
7B, the Cunningham, 950 Jordan Creek Parkway, approval of level 1 minor modification to site plan to revise landscape plan for mechanical screening, Jordan Creek Associates LLC. It's a resolution approval for minor modification.
Motion to approve the resolution.
I'll second it.
Second.
Any discussion? Please vote.
4 yes.
7C, plat of survey parcel 24-28 south of the intersection of EP True Parkway and Wendover Lane. Approval of a plat of survey to create a 109-acre parcel for the transfer of ownership, Pavilion Park LLC. It's a resolution, approval and release of the plat of survey.
Motion to approve the resolution.
Second.
Moved and seconded. Any discussion?
I just think this is a good example of some hard work that's being done by both the city and the Waukee School District. So grateful to see this partnership continue because there's some important stuff that's going to happen there. Not this year, not next year, but maybe a decade from now or whenever it is. So let's continue the hard work. It's great to see this.
All right, please vote.
4 yes.
Item 8, receive, file, and refer. We have nothing. Is there any other matters that anyone wants to bring up at the council level? Hearing none, adjourned. Thank you.
1 hour.
Yep.